Hello. I just wanted to go over some things that you may have missed in the department meeting if you weren't there. And this is from the week of January 24th. So we started off with a little bit of talking about circle questions, this question of what do you make? Just think about that for yourself. That will be your first question for you to answer for me is, what do you make? All right. Think about the ways that you might answer this question, and then also think about, well, how might students approach a question like this? And I was talking about how with circles, they're just a time for you to hear from each and every student. And it's nice because it gives every student a voice. It allows them some space to contribute. So we don't need to reply. We don't need to comment. We don't need to have a discussion about what a student shares. It's more of a just thank you. If you want to say thank you and then just move on to the next student, all right? But it gives everybody that space, which is really nice. So a couple of things to consider about circles, and I try to think about this when I'm writing questions that I put out for you guys. Please keep in mind that you are welcome to adapt circle questions that I give you. If you feel like, nah, this isn't quite right for my group, or I'm thinking maybe this might be a better way to go, or I'm going to change up the wording a little bit on this one, please go for it, okay? I know that when I was in the classroom, I always did that a little bit just to suit the needs of my particular group. But something to think about is what responses might you anticipate from your students? Like how is that question going to fly for your group? And then what makes for a good circle question? And an unusual response you've probably seen or heard before is Taylor Molly's response. And so we took a quick look at this, which is what teachers make. All right, and I'll put the link in for you so you can take a look if you wish. I think I sent that out in the coach corner, so if you want to take a look there, you can. All right, so the next thing that we talked about is our focus this week was on feedback, and we were thinking about the honors proposals, but then also just feedback in general. And so for your proposals, I was asking how many did you receive? So that is your second question. Okay, question number 2 is how many proposals did you receive? And share with me, please, one of the ideas that a student put out there for you, okay, or one of the project ideas that you saw. So then you have to think about, okay, well, now that I've got this information, what am I going to do with it? And you'll want to give them some sort of feedback so that they know if they're meeting the mark, if they're meeting expectations, but then also what might you suggest to them? And my suggestion to you would be perhaps to phrase those suggestions in the form of questions to put the student in the driver's seat to make them the real owner of the work. And then we looked at a student's proposal. I'm going to skip that for now. So 2 ways to think about feedback, all right, or 2 ways to deliver it. And I like to do a combo of the 2. You may also do this. Observation and questions. Okay, so rather than just saying I liked it, make your feedback specific. Make sure that your noticings are there where you're actually showing the student, hey, I saw this. I looked at your work. This is what I see here. And then questions, okay? Questions are kind of like your critique, but you're putting it on the student to say, what might you do in the form of a product that will really capture your audience's attention, okay? Or who might your target audience be? Things like that. Those are questions that you could ask students. And if they can't think of an answer, maybe give them a few options and then let them choose from there. Alrighty? But as I said, I like to do a combo of observations and questions, but not giving them too much, right? Feedback is really good because, if it's done right? Because I know that we've all received feedback on things in the past. It helps if it's specific and if it gives us something to chew on, something to think about. But effective feedback has a great effect size of 0.66, so that's a great thing. All right? So there is an article that I will link in here that I'll provide to you. And in that article, it's by Grant Wiggins. It's just talking about the keys to feedback. And these are some of the things that he talks about, like our timeliness, right? Like getting it back to students really quickly if we can. Thinking about giving feedback along the way and not just at the end. If you give feedback only at the end, project's over, right? Essay's done. Now what? What are they really going to do with that? But if you give it early on, like let's say with the proposal, that gives students time to do something with it and to make those changes. All right, this Goldilocks size thing, I talked about this with departments, and I gave them a non-example. All right, something that I did way back when, early on in my career, that I really regretted was I met with a high school senior over her college essay, and I had written all over her essay, and I thought that I'd done good things, right, by telling her all this different stuff that she could make changes to. Well, I made the girl cry. It was terrible. I just went overboard with it, and instead, it needed to be just the right size for her, and it wasn't. It was just overload. And then I realized that, but of course, it was a little too late, unfortunately. So that was regrettable for sure. And so also we want to make sure it's accessible to students and that it aims towards those end goals. All right? Now, I gave some work time to folks. Oh, but one thing about this feedback article, before I forget. What I'll ask you to do is I'll ask you to read the article. You don't have to read the whole thing, though. You can skim read it. And I actually highlighted different portions of it that I thought would be particularly useful because it is rather lengthy. So if you want to just read the highlighted portions, what I would like for you to do for your next question is I would like you to go ahead and tell me what are some of the things that he talks about in his article that resonate with you, that you agree with, and that you either do in your classroom or that you aspire to do in your classroom. Okay? And then finally, we had some work time with some different options and things. It depended on the department as to what we did there. But this is your final question, okay? So how might you provide feedback to your students on their proposals? Okay? What ways work best for you? And that is it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you at the next department meeting.